It happens quietly. You are standing in a shop, and a song from what feels like a couple of years ago comes on, and you realize, with a small jolt, that it is nearly 20 years old. And it is not just the song. The years themselves seem to be picking up speed. Summers that once stretched out forever now vanish between two blinks. December arrives, again, far too soon. Almost everyone past a certain age feels it. Time is speeding up. So here is the strange question at the heart of it. Why do the years get faster as you get older? It sounds like it should have a simple answer, or none at all. A year is a year. The Earth takes exactly as long to circle the sun as it always did. Nothing out there has changed. And yet something in here has. Because the truth turns out to be stranger than the question. Time is not really speeding up at all. Your brain is quietly changing how it measures it. Let me show you how. Start with the oldest explanation and the simplest. In 1885, a French philosopher named Paul Janet noticed something about the way a year feels, and he put it as a kind of arithmetic. Think about a child who is 2 years old. One single year is half of everything they have ever lived, half of their entire existence. Of course, it feels enormous. Of course, it drags. Now picture yourself at 50. 1 year is no longer half your life. It is a 50th of it, a thin sliver against everything you have already been through. The very same year weighed on a much bigger scale. So each birthday, the newest year is a smaller and smaller fraction of the whole. And your mind seems to judge it that way, against the total you have lived. That is why the years appear to shrink. It is a lovely, tidy idea. And for a long time, it was the whole answer people gave. But it explains only a part of what you feel, and not the deepest part. Because there is a second reason. And it is the strange one. To find it, you have to ask a different question. Not how long a year feels while you are living it, but how long it feels afterwards, when you look back. Because those are not the same thing at all. And this is where a clue turns up from the most ordinary place imaginable. A holiday. A good one, the kind you wait all year for. Think about how time behaves on a really good trip away. While you are there, the days pour through your fingers. You blink and the week is gone. It flies. Everyone knows that feeling. Time flies when you are having fun. But then you come home, and you look back on that same short week, and somehow it feels huge, rich, full, longer in memory than a whole ordinary month at home. A writer named Claudia Hammond gave this little contradiction a name. She called it the holiday paradox. The trip races by, and yet, remembered, it stretches out long. And inside that paradox is the real secret of time. Here is why it happens. Your brain does not have a clock ticking inside it. To judge how much time has passed, when it looks back, it reaches for something else entirely. It counts memories. The more new, vivid memories a stretch of time laid down, the longer that stretch feels when you look back on it. A week crammed with new things becomes a long week in your mind. A blank week almost disappears. And now the holiday paradox makes perfect sense. On holiday, everything is new. New streets, new food, new faces, new light. Your brain, flooded with novelty, records everything. So in memory, the trip is fat and long. But while you were actually there, so absorbed in each new moment, you were not watching the clock at all. And that is why the very same week can fly as you live it, yet stretch when you remember it. Hold on to that idea because it is about to explain your whole life. Not just a week away, but why childhood felt so endless and why this year went by in a breath. Think back to being a child. Almost everything you did, you were doing for the first time. The first time you rode a bike, the first day at a new school, the first taste of the sea, your first friendship, your first fear, the first time you stayed up late enough to see how strange the house felt in the dark. Every single day was laying down brand new memory. So childhood, looked back on, is enormous. It is dense with memory, packed corner to corner, because so little of it was familiar yet. A single summer could hold more than an entire adult decade. And then, slowly, quietly, life fills up with routine. You learn how the world works, you settle into it, and the number of genuinely new things you meet each day begins, without you noticing, to fall. This is the part that stings a little. Picture a typical Tuesday right now in your adult life. The same alarm, the same route, the same desk, the same screen, the same walls, the same drive home. To your brain, that Tuesday looks almost exactly like last Tuesday, and the one before, and the one before that. There is nothing new in it worth filing away. So your brain, efficient as ever, files almost nothing. And here is the quietly unsettling result. A whole month of routine can leave behind almost no new memory at all. And with so little memory to measure it by, that month, looked back on, feels like it barely happened. That is the real engine of the feeling. Time is not accelerating. Your brain is simply recording less of it. The years feel empty and fast, because in memory, they are becoming empty. And when you look back across many such years, they blur into one another, because there is nothing to tell them apart. Which one was that holiday? Which year did that happen? They smear into a single gray stretch. So we have two answers now, laid on top of each other. Each year is a smaller fraction of your life, and each routine year lays down less memory. Together, they make time seem to run away from you. But there is a third idea, newer and stranger than both. And it suggests the change reaches deeper than memory. It reaches all the way down into the raw speed of your seeing. In 2019, an engineer at Duke University named Adrian Bejan looked at time perception as a physicist, and he asked a question nobody had quite asked before. How fast, physically, does the brain take its pictures of the world? Because your sense of the present is not smooth. It is built from a rapid stream of mental snapshots, one after another, the way a film is really thousands of still frames flicked past your eye. Bejan's idea is this. A young brain, fresh and quick, takes those snapshots rapidly, many frames every second. So a child receives a dense, crowded flood of images inside a single day. But as you age, the brain physically slows. The nerve paths grow longer and more tangled, and the signals travel them more slowly. Even the tiny darting movements of your eyes that gather new images grow less frequent. So the older brain takes fewer snapshots in the same real minute. And if fewer images arrive, then less seems to happen inside each hour. And an hour with less inside it is an hour that feels like it went quicker. It is a haunting thought that a child is not imagining those long, slow, golden afternoons. To a mind running that fast, the day genuinely does hold more. They are living, in a real sense, at a higher frame rate than you. Now, this last idea is still debated. Not every scientist is convinced the brain works quite like that, but it points the same way as all the rest. Whether it is fractions, or memory, or frame rate, the arrow lands in one place. And here is that place, the turn this whole thing has been building toward. The years are not actually getting shorter. The clock has not betrayed you. What has changed is how much of life you are letting yourself take in. Time feels fast because a routine life gives the mind almost nothing new to hold. The blur is not the years passing. The blur is a life that has quietly stopped surprising you. Which sounds bleak, until you turn it over. Because it also means the speed of your life is not fixed. It is not simply handed to you by your age. To a real degree, it is in your hands. Think again about the holiday. The reason that week felt so long, looking back, was not the beach. It was the novelty. The newness. The sheer volume of first times your brain had to write down. And you do not need a plane ticket for that. Novelty is anything your brain has not filed 1,000 times before. A new route home. A skill you are clumsy at. A place you have never stood. A conversation that goes somewhere unexpected. Each new thing is a fresh memory laid down. And enough fresh memories, stacked up, are what make a stretch of time feel full and long again when you look back on it. This is the antidote, and it is oddly simple. So the goal is not to somehow live longer, it is to live wider. To keep meeting things you have never met, so your brain keeps its pen moving, and stops letting the years slide past unwritten. Because that endless childhood summer was never really about being young. It was about a mind for which almost everything was still new. And newness is not something you have to leave behind at the school gates. So the next time a song blindsides you with how old it is, take it not as a warning, but as an invitation. Time is not running out any faster than it ever did. Your brain has simply grown quiet, waiting for something worth recording. Give it that. Go and do one thing this week you have never done before, and feel, just a little, how long the week becomes.